Homes built using traditional architectures by our ancestors are believed to be climate responsive. Geographic variations and associated climate were most significant in influencing design criteria for these homes, followed by the selective use of locally available materials. We can learn from these indigenous construction practices that maintain the relationship between home, inhabitants, and the outside species. We must, however, admit that there are some limitations in those techniques, particularly their application in the present context. When we compare the shapes of houses in different tropical regions, we are struck by their similarities. The concept of vernacular architecture implies the consideration of certain aspects. First, climate-responsive structures in terms of solar protection and natural ventilation. Second, construction practices with little or no professional intervention. And the last, local materials and technologies well adapted to the local climate. In tropical regions, solar radiation is very strong. Periods of sunny days throughout the year are quite long, causing significant heating of the buildings. The overheating in the hot, humid regions is not as great as in hot, dry regions. There are less differences between daytime and nighttime temperatures. High humidity increases the level of discomfort because people sweat and evaporative cooling is ineffective. Due to the high solar radiation received, protection from intense solar radiation was the main feature of the traditional buildings. The structures, walls, partitions, and roofs were mainly made up of wood or bamboo, and sometimes mixed with soil. These rather clear, thin, and relatively light materials reflected a part of the solar radiation while transferring and storing very little heat. Moreover, this natural base building material have low embodied energy. The powerful sun in the tropics led homes to be oriented in such a manner so as to limit the entry of solar radiation into habitable spaces. At the same time, the orientation favored the use of the prevailing winds to cool the occupants. Houses were mostly surrounded by trees and vegetation to reduce the solar gains and cool the air by evaporating the moisture released by the foliage, without significantly altering the circulation of the breeze. The roofs were steep and used high insulated materials. In addition to facilitating the runoff of rainwater, they receive smaller amounts of energy per unit area in very sunny locations. They also help prevent hot air from stagnating inside and promote its evacuation through apertures made in the ridge. Sunsets were very much in use. If we study the traditional houses in tropics, most of the houses had sun protection, such as roof overhangs, awnings, palisades, etc. Verandas were shaded and were considered as thermal buffer zones. Natural ventilation was favored. Windows had no glazing, thus avoiding the greenhouse effect and allowing natural ventilation. Large openings could be found everywhere in the house. Apart from the search for safety being one of the primary motivations, the desire to take advantage of natural ventilation led the inhabitants in tropical regions to raise their houses from the ground level. It also served to dehumidify the indoor air and improve human comfort. Times have changed. Traditional houses are now mostly concentrated in rural or suburb areas, where greater number of people are going to live in urban areas. Hence, there is a need to address some of the challenges of the present, such as higher population density, land constraints, urban heat island, and urban air pollution. Also, building materials are required to be stronger and last longer. Today, it is increasingly difficult to surround the house with trees and vegetation due to the land scarcity and high land price in the city center. Available site plan is limited, and ideal building orientation cannot always be achieved. It is also difficult to continue using wood or other organic components as the main building material because of their scarcity today. Moreover, the use of wood-based materials requires regular maintenance. Traditional materials should be renewed at least once in 3 to 5 years. The use of more contemporary materials, therefore, remains to this day a necessity. Modern techniques can provide relevant answers to this problem. Therefore, while retaining the basics of traditional architecture, we should not hesitate to integrate new solutions when they are able to respond better to the present constraints and achieve our goal of safe, economical, comfortable, and environmentally friendly homes.